Any ache, pain, or symptom of the body is the subconscious trying to give you a message. It's trying to tell you something. If you don't listen, it gets a little worse. It's still trying to get your attention. A little worse, a little worse. It thinks it's being quite logical and makes sense, but we still don't understand what is it trying to tell you. So it gets a little worse until finally it'll get to the point where you have a full-blown disease or illness that you end up in the hospital or having to have operation.
The Real Talk Corner. We back. We in the building. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, fighting my way through the darkness where the wicked don't rest. Conscious aware, truth I dare, shield tied to my chest. My tenacity can put these motherfuckers to the test. Vibrations of fire, alchemist of desire. I stay manifesting shit even when I am tired. You could call me a mason, by the bricks I be laying, but you'll never call me lazy, cause my vice they devastating. In a league of my own, spitting real talk energy. I know a little something about a thing called synergy. Destined so ready to grow with sending masses awakening. Listen up, cause we about to set your mind, body, and soul free. All right, let's get started. I have a special guest with me this morning, Scarlett Cain from Open Your Mind for Your Soul, who is a QHHT practitioner like myself. Today, we are going to get into some myths about hypnosis. I love seeing a lot of this stuff because some of the main questions you get, right, are like, what's going to happen? And everyone thinks like their brain is going to be fried. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that and go deep into it so you guys can kind of understand more of what hypnosis is, what it's used for, why would you want to do it? And then we're going to break it down too, because past life regression and hypnosis aren't all the same thing. There's so many different corners and pieces to it that if you look at it. So I did want to we'll talk a little bit about that today also and get into it. So you can have a little bit more information, get a little bit more out of your own way. And I say, go try it. What's it going to hurt?
Right.
What's it going to hurt? Nothing. But before we jump in, Scarlett, I just want you, for the people who don't know, you have had Scarlett on the podcast before, even though we've changed the name. We've officially changed the name, The Real Talk Corner. But go ahead, for the people who don't know you, don't know what you do. Give them a little snippet of that.
Well, I am a QHHT practitioner, and I also am a Beyond Quantum healer, which is similar to QHHT. It's just another certificate as well. I also do crystal quantum healings to help clear, charge, and align the chakras. You know, I like to think of myself as a light worker. I'm here to guide, to help heal, and let everybody really get to know themselves on a deeper level and understanding of themselves.
How long have you been doing this?
It's been over a year now. Coming up over a year now.
Time flies, right? Time flies. We're in 2024. Yeah, I'll be coming up on my year, December. December will be a year for me since I did. I went through, if you guys know about Dolores Cannon, which I'll probably put an insert of her.
Any ache, pain, or symptom of the body is the subconscious trying to give you a message. It's trying to tell you something. If you don't listen, it gets a little worse. It's still trying to get your attention. A little worse, a little worse. It thinks it's being quite logical and makes sense, but we still don't understand what is it trying to tell you. So it gets a little worse until finally it'll get to the point where you have a full-blown disease or illness that you end up in the hospital or having to have operations. And they are always saying no surgery, no invasion of the body. They don't want that. And they tell me once something's been taken out, they can't put it back. So we have to get it fixed before they have the operation to find out why have they gone that far? What is it that they're trying to tell themselves?
where, because she's where the one that I did, the program I did was from her, the technique that she she didn't create hypnosis. She just created her own style. And I think the one that you did, the Beyond, right? They have their own kind of style also, which
she actually learned from Dolores Cannon too. She worked with her for some years.
Yeah. So it's basically the techniques are a lot the same. And then there's other people who they learn hypnosis through other schooling, and they use the technique. Not everybody does past life regression though, or regressions, which doesn't have to be past life, could just be your childhood. So do understand though, if you guys are looking for people, what you're looking for also. But we're going to get into some of the myths first. So the first one that I came across, and I think that's the most people stay in fear of, is hypnosis is dangerous. So how do you feel about that one? Hypnosis is dangerous.
I don't think it's dangerous at all. I mean, especially with the kind of hypnosis that we do, it's just all love and light. And I don't think that your soul or your subconscious would allow anything dangerous to happen. It's more protective and loving. So I definitely would disagree with that myth.
Yeah, hypnosis is definitely not, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the mind. Hypnosis is not to harm you. I think people seen a lot of stuff on TV. So you guys know TV dramatizes everything. So, no, not every person who does hypnosis is making you quack like a duck and bark like a dog. And, all of these crazy things. You're just like, that's not what's really happening. So no, I don't think it's dangerous at all. I feel like, and we're going to go into or I like to say higher self, your higher self. We'll talk about that also, because that part of you is always protecting you. I think that part of you is going to shut anything down. Definitely. If your practitioner even has any, ill intention towards you, your higher self is going to come in and like, let me shut this shit down real quick. So another one, a hypnosis makes you black out.
I've never experienced any kind of blackout with my clients. They usually remember something, pieces of it, portions of it, and I've never had anyone not remember nothing at all.
I think what some people are referring to when they are saying blackout is because it feels like when you come out of it and someone's like, how long do you think you've been down? And you're like, 15, 20 minutes. And they're like, no, 2 hours. And you're like, oh crap. Like, dang, it's been 2 hours. So there's these pieces of time that you're like, wait a minute. But it's definitely not a blackout. I have seen some people who don't really remember anything, but it's 2 hours. You're down 2 hours. So you're not gonna just when you're coming back out like if you were coming out of a dream state. So same thing, like if you're waking up, you're not going to remember the whole dream. You got bits and pieces of the dream and you start losing it real quick. You're like, oh man, I need to write this dream down, so I can, remember it. So it's kind of the same concept of you're coming out of this dream state. So yeah, you're not going to hold on to everything and you're not going to remember it. So, but no, you don't black out. It's not like you black out. You're just like, it's been 7 hours. You're in a session for that long. That's probably a problem, I would say. So then there was this other one. Hypnotized people can't resist suggestions.
Resist suggestions. So I'm assuming like whack like a duck or
right. So if the person's like whatever, or if they say like, murder, I don't know, murder someone. Let's go to the most outlandish something that a practitioner, why they want you to murder your mother, I don't know. But like, let's just say that's what you're thinking. Someone's suggesting something. How do you feel about that? That you can't resist suggestions from the practitioner?
I think people think that it's kind of like a mind control thing. And it's not like we don't control your mind. You're in control of everything. It's just more of like, to me, it's more of like a guidance for you, not of us taking over your free will and having you, forcing you to do something. It's not anything. We don't have that much control.
I think people are thinking of, you know, how like people have used hypnosis for weight loss and stop smoking.
Oh, yeah.
And they think because the practitioner has put those suggestions in, but it's not because of the practitioner. It's because you're the one who wants to do it.
Exactly.
And the crazy thing is about the mind is if you believe it, then it works. So if you believe that because of this hypnosis, now I do no longer quit, you know, I no longer smoke, right? Then boom, here you go.
Right. Then it'll happen.
It's not because that this person put these notions in your mind and now you're going to wake up with all of this stuff. It's crazy. I think people don't understand that we really don't say anything in the sessions. Like we're just guiding you through what you're seeing. Right. So if I'm saying, like, if you're talking, I'm just guiding you through. So what do you see? What are you wearing? You know, you do the same thing. It's like, what are you feeling? We don't say anything. We're not putting anything in there. We're not telling you what you're seeing or feeling. We're just getting the information from you so that you can say, you know, what you're coming up with. So I think people have it really confused of how these, you know, these sessions go. And yeah.
It's kind of like we're investigators.
Right. It is. It's more investigating and pulling information and then walking you from kind of scene to scene. Because most of us can't sit in meditation and just focus, right? That's why there's so much guided meditation out there that we do. And it's the same thing. It's just a real life person to guide you through where you're taking us, not us taking you. So I think that's crazy how people really are like, this is what they feel about it. And again, it's even with smoking or weight loss, it's because you believe it to work. It's kind of like the placebo effect, right? Mm-hmm. You take a pill, you think you're cured. All right. Mm-hmm. You're cured.
Right.
You don't think it's going to work? Guess what? Doesn't work. But I just thought this stuff was funny.
I get the ones where they think that like the suggestions, or you're going to have them do something that might be embarrassing to them, is a lot that I get whenever people first start trying to investigate about a session.
Yeah. It's like, what do you really think someone's going to tell you to do? Like, really, if you think about it and you're like, okay, I'm coming here for help. I'm coming here for assistance. I want to heal, or I want to, you know, work through my issues. What do you really think this practitioner is going to tell you to do? Far as suggestions go, that's gonna be crazy. Like, and I mean, I had to work through it too, though, you guys. I'm not gonna down everyone because I had to work through that too. It was like, this is weird, you know, like you do have to trust the person. And if you have control issues, that becomes a big thing, right?
Yes, definitely not wanting to let go and just go with it.
Right. If you don't feel safe, then of course you're probably not going to have a good session. And I'm someone who has control issues and trust issues. So my sessions have been very, very funny. The ones I've done. But yeah, it's like, no, you're not, you know, you're not going to be told anything crazy to do. And I can't speak for everyone, but I haven't heard of any cases. Right. I haven't heard of any cases where someone has told someone to do something crazy and then now they're in their life, you know, doing some crazy stuff. So it's just like, I think more people are scared of what's going to come out because everyone is so ashamed of their past. They're ashamed of what they've done. And I think that's where the fear is coming more. It's like, oh, I'm going to say some stuff. And but we don't go and publicize this. You know, when you do the session, it really is with you and your practitioner. Unless they get consent, because I always ask for consent to share the stories. They don't have to give me consent to do that, right? So you do the same. So no one's going to tell your story, you know, and even if they did, they're going to use some alias. Who knows it's you? It's like.
Exactly. But I do get a lot of people, but if you find out a secret that I don't want nobody to know, and I'm really yourself won't divulge it.
Yeah.
Like it won't even come up. So
like people get afraid, like they're gonna say something that's like a dark secret for them.
Yes, but your higher self won't divulge anything that you don't want it to. I mean, it's not going to divulge your deepest, darkest secrets unless you are okay with that.
Definitely. I think I wish, and I'll say, I wish people understood their higher self and what that is when we talk about higher self, because it is your kind of like, if you thought of guardian angel, or you thought like that first protection for your soul, it's a part of you that knows like why you're here, what you're doing. Of course, the whole embodiment of your soul can't be in this body. It just doesn't work like that, right? That's your first defense, and your higher self is like, yeah, no, or yes, or, even like we've done sessions, and I know I've come across where the higher self is like, that's not needed, even like stuff we want to know.
Exactly. It's like, well, it's not important, right?
It doesn't matter. So it's just like, yeah, keep going, next question.
Right.
Some people think that some people are either hypnotized or not. How do you feel about that?
If they're hypnotized or not, I mean, I think that would be accurate. You're either under or you're not under. I mean, I've had clients that I haven't got to go under. They've tried. I don't know how to explain it. Like they've imagined, but certain things you could tell that they're not fully just by what they're saying, kind of. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I think I would probably agree. Either you are or you're not.
I don't know. I feel like you are. It's just the depth of how far you go.
That's
because
true.
Even like I've had quite a few people who feel like they can't go, right? But as we just continue the session, and we're, if I see that someone is really struggling, like to go to that past life, because past life, sometimes it's like the logic kicks in, like, there's no way I'm seeing this stuff, or there's no, there's no way. So then it's like, okay, let's stay here and see, let's go, and I'll always take them back to like, a place, wherever there are beautiful places, right? We'll go back there, and then we'll call in the higher self, and then I'll get them acquainted to the higher self. And it's like, okay, well, what does your higher self want to show you? And normally it's stuff from this life that they're seeing, stuff that they need to work out from this life. And then you will see them cry, or the emotions come. And so you're just like, okay, well, you don't think that you're really in any type of trance, but you are in, it's just, you're not deep. You're not, like as deep as we would like you to be, of course, but you're still there. And then I look at how they come out too. So like everyone seems to not struggle coming out of it, but that kind of like, oh, wait a minute, my body is kind of numb. Okay, my butt is kind of,
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I have been laying here for a long time, wait a minute. And even like me, I don't go like completely into any trance, because I'm, like I say, I got trust issues. So I'm kind of, a lot awake when I've done mine, but I still feel it at the end, where I feel like my body's been rested. I feel like I've been, laying there for a while. So I feel like, oh, okay, like, oh, wait, I need to readjust. I need to, come out of it. So I don't think I agree with that. I think that you're always going to be hypnotized. It's just how deep do you go in.
And that goes with, in the classes for Dolores Cannon, when she was talking about, you even get in a state of hypnosis driving. So just, especially like long distances, you're not just always looking at the road, you're thinking about other things, and you're in kind of like a trance. So it's not a deep one. You're still aware of things, but you are still in a hypnosis or hypnotized state. So I guess it is right. It's just how deep.
Right. Because I use that a lot when I'm talking to people who are like, oh, I can't meditate. And I'm like, yeah, you can. You do it all the time. Just like that
Right.
drive home, you don't even remember how you got there, but you got there perfectly safe, right?
Exactly.
Washing dishes, you do it all of these times, and you're just like, what was I thinking about? Where am I at? You
Right.
have to regroup. You don't even know where you were. You don't even remember what the thoughts were going on in your brain. You were somewhere else. And so I think that we just forget that we're doing this constantly already, shifting our being into different places, but we're not conscious of it. So it's just like, oh no,
Right.
I'm not hypnotized. It's like, no, you are. It's just the level goes to the comfort. Because I've seen some people like go in and it's like, boom, they're in. And I think it's the level of comfort and safety. Do they feel safe enough? And if you're worried about what someone's going to do with your mind, or they're going to start,
Right.
you're going to take over, and I don't know what the hell people are thinking, then yeah, you're probably not going to go too far in.
Right. You'll put up a block kind of and not
Yeah.
let yourself fully go all the way.
I don't really feel like people hypnotize you, but I do see how the practitioner's voice helps the cadence, helps you get to that state that you
Right.
probably can't just get in, especially if you're not someone who knows how to meditate. And even with meditation, it could be rough, but guided meditation is the same thing. You're listening to somebody guide you with a particular cadence in their voice.
Right.
That's taking you on a journey, you're like,
and you're like, yeah, let's go.
I'm not even on mushrooms and we're off.
Right.
So it's like the same thing. You really don't have to be afraid of it because you're actually allowing yourself to go. So, but I always think people get hit. They are hypnotized. It's just the level. I just think it's funny. It's like, no. I think I saw Dolores Cannon talk about it a couple times where she's had people same thing that they don't think they are, but they still get to do some things in the session. And you're going to do what you need at that time. So even like I tell some people and they're like, oh my God, I was like, you got what you needed out of the session.
Exactly.
Maybe you didn't get to go see past life, but you got what you needed to work through in this session. I always feel bad at the end because of course I want everyone to go see past life.
Right.
I'm like, man, but I understand at the end of the day, like it's not up to me what your session is supposed to be.
Right.
Your session is supposed to be whatever it is for you. I did see this one that came up, that hypnosis is used for evil.
I've seen that too. And I mean, with our work there, I mean, it's all love and light. I don't see any evil at all. I mean, we put protection, we call in your guides and source. So there's no room for evil to even enter the space at all because of all the protection that's up. That's definitely a funny myth to me because
Yeah. Has your perception changed about evil since doing the QHHT sessions?
yeah, I feel like evil is more of lost in a sense. And then even if something that you perceive as evil is still part of the master plan of you to grow and learn and expand your soul to experience different things. So it's not so much evil, but maybe a lesson that you perceive it as not good, but eventually see it as what it is in this lesson of life that you're going through.
Yeah. I've definitely changed a lot of how I look at just how evil is portrayed and even like demons and all of that. There's so much that we create. Yes. Our mind is so powerful and we create so much. And, just looking on the science part, you guys, science and spirituality go hand in hand. Like, it's so crazy. It goes hand in hand, but how energy can't be destroyed. It's never destroyed. It can be created, right? And the energy that's already here just gets recycled, if you will. It's recycled. So it's not destroyed. There's no destroying demons. There's no destroying darkness. There's none of that. It's just recycled. So if we were more careful of how we create, right? If we were more careful on how we create this darkness within us or around us, we actually would have less of it to deal with. But we do not, I feel like we're not taught that, right? It's not something we're taught
Yeah.
to really have that control and power over mind because we create a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing these sessions has really made me look at evil and stuff so differently. And I'm like, wow, we really create so much that we don't need in life. So yeah, there's, you guys, I don't think there's not one person who's going to use a hypnosis session for,
Evil.
it's like, but what would they really be doing? Right.
Right. What could they do?
Because literally your higher self, and when we think about it, because when we think like, well, then why do people kill and why do people do these things? But if you think about a person in that moment that chooses to take a life, they're choosing it in that moment. Your higher self is not here to ban you or stop you. We have free will. So you have the free will to make those choices, right? It's like you're making the choice. So yeah, people can choose to do some crazy stuff and it not necessarily be like, oh, the demon was controlling you. Like you decided to make that choice.
Right.
So what would someone in this hypnosis, what would they really be trying to make you do? I have a problem with even like the devil made me do it. I have a problem when people say that. It's just like, no, that's a cop out.
Right. Everybody has choices.
Like, no, I know that there's darkness out there, but we definitely have created most of it.
Darkness is just someone or things that don't have light or have lost their light. So us giving light and shining light for others will just help ignite that light in them, and then the darkness will go away. So it's not, I think evil and darkness is just people that, or things that may have lost their way, and we just need to show more love and light to them and to the world, and it'll slowly get better.
It's crazy because we get so focused on the darkness, but in one of my regressions, I went to like a place that was like nothing. It was dark, it was nothing, but it was so peaceful and it was so quiet. And it literally was nothing going on there, but it wasn't scary. It just was peace. And so I think that we're, because of course, religions and how, we're raised in these society, we're raised to think that darkness is bad somehow, that somehow it's evil, that somehow there's things lurking in the darkness. And it's just like, yeah, no, there's a lot of beauty in those spaces that we can't see. Right. So yeah, I feel like the in between, it's like the in between spaces of things. And I don't feel like we have to be afraid of those spaces. I don't think we have to be. There's so much peace within those like spaces. Because too much, even when you think of like sun, too much sun, there's damage to that. There's just too much is too much. That balance has to be there. So no, hypnosis is not evil.
No,
So the other one. The other one was the same thing, like that people use it to reprogram your mind.
Yeah, definitely can't do that. Can't program things into people.
So like, if you think of it, right, we have programming all around us, right? From songs to movies to commercials that you see come out, right? And they'll have certain jingles or they'll have certain phrases, they'll have certain, things. So that programming, there is programming already out there that we see all the time, right? And again, your practitioner, the person who's doing the hypnosis on you, is not doing it to say anything to you. They're doing it for you to uncover and walk through your stuff. So yeah,
we're just
right.
guiding you.
So no one's gonna reprogram your mind. If anything, your higher self is gonna help you deprogram some stuff.
Yeah. That I was gonna say we might deprogram some beliefs or
Right.
something just from what you see, just because of everything. Like a lot of people don't believe in past life regressions and things like that, but I
Yeah.
mean that's definitely not the case.
I actually came across an article by John Brill, and it's a psychologist, actually, Stephen Lynn, who is expert on hypnosis, who believes that hypnosis, you cannot have an accurate um, recollection of a past life. That's what he believes, supposedly expert in hypnosis. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty trippy because I'm like, I've actually, I've done these sessions. I know you've done, sessions, and we've seen people, even ourselves, like I have done the session myself, you know. Now I will say that again, going with the depth of how you allow yourself, because some people go and embody that life, right? They're the person, they know the name, they know all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like for me, I don't embody. There's a part of me that doesn't let go to embody it completely, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't tell you the dates. I can't tell you the year that it is. I can describe things for,
Right.
of what's around, but I couldn't tell you what year. I couldn't tell you what my name is unless someone is saying it to me, but I haven't been in any situation where someone's calling me, to say like, oh, I think that's, I think that's my
They
name.
said my name.
I thought that was weird that this expert saying that no, you can't have an accurate regression to recall that type of information.
I I mean, you get pieces of it, like I said, depending on how deep you can go to really investigate to know, like I said, the names, the cities,
Right.
or continent, or wherever. But I've definitely, I mean, I've done a lot of sessions, and have different phases of people going through different things, like people just watching the life
Mhm.
to being in a part of the life, and he must not have been hypnotized by a QHHT person yet. He hasn't had a quantum hypnosis yet.
Actually, I was like, expert, huh? It's
Right.
crazy because before I came across Dolores Cannon, I had across a doctor named Brian, what I think is Wise, Weiss, and I read his book about how he had came across past life regression, and it was accident. It was he was doing the regression sessions on a girl who had a lot of relationship issues. And when they kept trying to figure out what was going on and kept going to her childhood, and then when he asked a specific question about like why something was happening with her father, she popped into a past life. And it was like somewhere way off in, back in the Greece times. And it was and he was like, wait a minute, what just happened? So, and I think Dolores Cannon was the same thing where hers, it was just like,
Yeah,
it just
it was an
they
accident.
popped into this past life. It wasn't something that she was trying to do. So, I can't say that every person who does hypnosis can or knows how to do it or can help guide someone because it is based on your technique, your voice, how people are comfortable with you as a practitioner also. So I don't know, maybe this expert, just didn't have those sessions. I don't know. I also think that people have this perception that you're going to see a whole past life, and there's no way for you to see an entire life.
No.
Like, if you think about your life every second, how many seconds, minutes, hours, weeks, years in a lifetime, right?
Exactly.
There's no way to cover a whole entire life in a
No,
2-hour session.
not at all. We go through the important days of the life.
Yeah, and it's what's and it's what's important for you to know right now. Not what you think it's important, it's what your higher self thinks is important.
Yes.
So your higher self is not always going to go take you to a place where you know the name and the city. And a lot of people didn't, they just knew where they live. They didn't even know what the
Right.
city was called. It's just like, this is where I live. This is a home. That's kind of the language, whatever the language is, right? So I think that, of course, there's going to be skeptics because
Always.
people want you to know that. They want you to know those specific details, specific dates and stuff like that. But to me, what I've seen is that stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for you to know what year it is, because there's no need for you to go find that particular person, right? Like, what are
Right.
you going to do? Go and start searching for this person in history? How does that help you? I think your higher self said that on one when we were doing the pharaohs, right?
Yeah. She doesn't need to know because you're gonna go look it up, and that's not
Right.
anything you need to go look up.
And that was the question. It was like, okay, well, can you give me the name? And it's like, no, that you don't need to, because you're gonna go look it up and you're gonna waste precious time going to go look for this life when you've already lived it, right? So yes, I'm on board for you guys to do this stuff, but don't get caught up in this, because you've already been there, done that. This life is very important. The one you're in right
Right.
now.
The one right
The one
now,
Yeah.
present.
So it's like, yeah. So details like that, I feel like if you want to feel like that makes it where it's not real, or you feel like, well, oh, maybe I saw this in a movie. One of the things I remember that I took away from Dolores Cannon was the emotions behind it, because that's the one thing you can't really fake. You can't fake the emotions you have when you're in these sessions. So if you have genuine emotion towards that character that that's playing out in front of you, then it's real. Um, so you go with the information, but you cannot go through a whole life. It's like craziest stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll look more into this guy. I just thought that was neat, and I was just like, you guys, there's so many more people. You literally can find a naysayer and people
Right.
who are, in the industry that are going to have their opinions. And I would say make your own opinions about it, before you just go off with the myths, because it's actually, when we talk about the truth about hypnosis, it's actually a beautiful technique that can assist you. I do believe in it, to where I changed my whole way of practicing, and incorporating in how I practice using these techniques. So I feel like when we're talking about the healing aspect of it, what would you say far as the healing aspect to it? What would you say are some benefits for people to get, or that they could get out of getting a session?
I mean, the higher self can do spontaneous healings within the body. I always ask for it to do a body scan, and just advice and motivation. That's a lot of what I love to hear from the higher self, is to give them guidance on how to heal themselves. If they're not going to do it, maybe it's something that you need to go through, but they'll give you the steps to do that. Um, that's really beautiful. And also, some parts of the healing, I've had a lot of people and their loved ones come through, like maybe have recently passed and they needed some kind of closure or some kind of words from them. And so then they come through, and just the feeling and their emotions that you could see, it's really a healing and a loving moment. So I think if you need some kind of closure or guidance.
Right. I actually love that part about it, is when the past loved ones come in,
Yes.
and then that burst of it, because it's real, it's raw. You could feel the love, on a level that you probably haven't felt in so long, because of that spiritual connection. So I actually love when they come through, So it's just not always guaranteed because there's so much going on in the afterlife, that, especially our beliefs. So a lot of people don't believe that, there is any other lives. And a lot of people don't believe, that you can speak to, your past loved ones. But if they're available, and I'll say that if they're available,
Yes.
they'll come through because there's so much going on the other side. I actually was just reading Dolores Cannon's Beyond Death book, and it was trippy on reading some of the clients because when she was asking their higher self about death, they had all of these different, I don't want to say different, but every death experience is different. There's no two death experiences that are exactly the same. So when you have these people having the near death experiences, it's like, just because they had it that way doesn't mean that that's how your death experience is going to be. Like, you literally can have different ones, and there's no exact way to cross over. It's so different.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty neat. But there was one, it makes me want to ask now in a session, because there was one where they talked about that some people have to go to a resting place. So it's like when there's something very traumatic and you have to go to this resting place and just kind of, chill and regroup until you can move on. And I thought that was interesting because, like I told you, when I went through one of my lives, I went to like that nothing place. It was just the nothing and rest and just a beautiful energy, but there was absolutely nothing. And so it tripped me out because in a different one, I went to this beautiful, energetic kind of space that was all energy. And I was reading when they were talking about it, is like you go to the resting place because you need that time out. You kind of need that time out before you go and, intertwine back in energetically. Because again, energy is never destroyed. It's never destroyed. We just keep recycling. So I thought that was pretty neat that I've seen that myself and got to experience that. Right.
Yeah.
Have you paid attention to some of your in between the lives spaces?
Actually, I've had some people just go there, like you said, just go to the in between, and they don't really see anything but colors, but they get the feeling of love and that they could feel energy around them, but it was just all love and they just wanted to stay there. So I've had that. I actually just recently had one that she had a block and she went to like just the gray, and it was basically just showing her like the blockage that she had, because then like dark came in and I was just telling her like, there's always light is always there, you just got to find it. And so then I was guiding her through, to the light, and then it became more light, more lush of vegetation and stuff, and so that was really beautiful.
Yeah. I definitely would say, hypnosis or regression is definitely good for repressed emotions.
Oh yeah.
Really good one to get those out. And, when we talk about how these emotions can affect you on a cellular level, it could affect you through disease, through, it just sits in places of your body. So, it definitely can help you release those toxins through however it decides to come out, but definitely can help you release and let go of some very shit that's hurting you or could be killing you, on a disease level. Let's talk about the higher self real quick though, because again, we want you guys to understand higher self. How would you kind of describe to someone their higher self and how they kind of control and direct the session?
I mean, I have with everyone is different. Some of them are kind of bossy in a way, funny. It definitely depends on the personality of the client, of how your higher self will come out, but definitely always loving and protective. And I can't stress protective enough, because I have had clients ask questions and the higher self say they're not ready for that yet. So it's definitely protective in a way of it doesn't want to hurt. It's you. It's your being. It's the energy of you and all that is you and ever will be. So it knows you inside and out. There's nothing that you've done now or in the past that it doesn't know or understand, and it understands it's part of the process to evolve. So it wants to evolve, it wants you to love, it wants you to live. So it's
Right.
it's hard to even explain how miraculous it is in a way.
Right.
Just to put it into words.
It is. It's the trying to wrap your mind around like this part of you. But I know that through my experience that it's just that true connection to source. So regardless to if you believe in God or you believe in, source, universe, that oneness, that energy, it's your one true connection to that energy, because we're never disconnected from source energy.
Ever.
We're always, but because we're in these human bodies, right? We're driving off ego in this human body. So the higher self is that part that's directly connected and is all seeing, all knowing. And again, your higher self is not here to make a perfect life for you, because the crazy thing is, even if there's things that are not on your list, like, oh wait, I didn't really ask for that, but if you can benefit from it, your higher self is going to allow it. So if you're just like, wait a minute, why did this happen to me? And what did this, it's going to come out, and if you're not ready to hear, like if your ego is not ready and can't deal with something, that's exactly what your higher self is going to say. You're not ready.
Not ready for that.
You're not ready to hear that. You're not ready to go through that. You're not ready. And it might piss you off, but it's okay. Later on, you'll realize like, yeah, nope, I would not have been able to accept or take that. Because it is, we, our ego, who we are, who we think we are, should we say, right? Who we think we are in this life. There's a lot of things that we can't handle, especially when our reality that we think exists is about to get like in shambles.
Right.
Shattered to the ground. It's the higher self already knows that you're not going to be able to take that. So we're not even going to go there today, because nope, you can't handle that. And it's basically that, because everything that we think we know, to be true, it's just like, like a little fraction of it, like a little little tiny fraction. So yeah, higher self is your first defense in hypnosis, in anything that you do though. So you can walk into these sessions and be confident that your higher self has your best interests. And again, like I said, even if your practitioner did have ill intent, your higher self would not play the games.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit. How do you feel like when, because some people say higher self, some people say subconscious. I know like Dolores Cannon has used super conscious in some of the terms she says. How do you kind of go around describing that to clients?
Subconscious, I think of it as like your soul, your inner being, and like you said, your connection with source. So conscious a lot, but then I also use soul in the higher self. They're really all the same in a sense that, I mean, it's your inner light is how I would describe it to my clients.
Yeah. I know it gets a little tricky with the wording, you guys, because of like, it's just everyone has a different way to kind of describe it. I like to use the subconscious as like a drawer. Like that drawer of the mind, that everything, all the stuff that you've ever been and is there. Now, not necessarily does your ego have access to that though, but your higher self does. So
Right.
the ego doesn't always have that access to go in there, but the ego definitely is acting out from things that are in there.
Yeah.
So I like to describe it like that. It's a drawer that's there, but not necessarily does the ego know it's there. Your identity of who you think you are, but the higher self definitely has the keys to that one, sitting in there. But if you're gonna do it though, just go in with what we say, with that open mind,
Open mind.
no expectations of what
Yes.
you think is supposed to happen or how you read it here, and this person's experience was this, and this person's experience was that.
It is the same at all. Everybody needs something different to help them journey through their life.
Yeah. And you're not necessarily, are you going to always go to the past lives? It's great. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people get disappointed with the past lives that show up too, because everybody wants these crazy, like outlandish, superstar past lives.
Right.
And that may not be the one that pops up for you. It might be the mundane one that you were just a parent and you were just taking care of kids and it was boring as hell. But there's a meaning behind that one of why it's coming up, right? And so I'm like, I think that too is where, if your higher self knows that you're gonna be that way, because again, your higher self knows better than we do. So your higher self might be like, you know what, we're not even doing past lives in this session. We're gonna do something else. We're gonna take you somewhere else. And I find those sessions pretty neat, actually. The ones that don't go through the past lives or just directly in there, I actually find those sessions pretty neat, because we're tackling all of these other things that are just as important, that are just as, healing as seeing one of these past lives, but not necessarily going to a past life. So you could believe it or not believe it. I mean, I choose to believe it. I feel like you always have a choice I feel like it's better to be living with magic and just that access to all of these different beautiful things and dimensions versus just the mundane reality. I'm like, I'll take my hypnosis state over here. We're actually gonna wrap up. I will have Scarlett's information in the description, so wherever you're watching, just look in the description. You'll find her links to go check her out, go follow her, go book with her. She does virtual, same. Not a lot of people do virtual, you guys. So I know I do, she does, but there aren't a ton of people who will do virtual. A lot of people are scared to do virtual regressions, which again, virtual, there's nothing afraid about that. Spirit has your back here. Always. So if you say, I want to do this and it's for your highest good, boom, it's going to get done and you're not going to have no problems. So,
and even if you do have problems, I think in our session, my internet was messing up.
yeah, like because now. It was crazy because I had actually was
back
nervous.
On and
yeah, I was nervous.
Right.
I was like, oh man, I want to test this virtual. And I was like, oh, let's go ahead and swap and see. And I was like, oh man, I'm so nervous about this because I do not want this to happen to client. And Spirit was like, okay, since you're we're going to show you how this works. And literally, she was still in hypnosis state. She reconnected and we went back into the session. Like that's how it was. And the higher self was like, okay, so see, we got this. And I'm like, oh, say less.
Right. It was an aha moment for both of us because then I was like, wow, I can come back.
Yeah. It happened to me too. I had swapped with another girl too. And it happened on hers on my side where mine had died. And I literally got up, went to my desk and got in my chair, rehooked, and then just kind of went back into the mode. And it was pretty trippy how you just
slide back in there.
Higher self has got control. You really just trust the process and just boom. So anything else you wanted to add about hypnosis for our lovely listeners?
Just if you want to try it, it's definitely a good experience to get healing, to get understanding, to get guidance. So there's definitely nothing to be afraid of. We're here to help. We're here to guide and investigate for you to help you in the very best way that we can. So there's definitely nothing to be afraid of. You should definitely try it if you're wanting to get a little deeper into knowing all of you.
Definitely. I concur. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Scarlett, for coming on here with me and just telling you guys the truth about hypnosis. Don't got to be afraid. Go get it done. Just remember, this life is always the most important life because this is the one you're living in and you're tuned into in this moment.
Yes.
All right, you guys, until next time, bye.
Bye.